the likes of the Tories, who piggyback off of the concerns of people like us, need to be highlighted for the con men that they
These are all the Boston Brigade folks. Relatively well behaved today, I must say.
But at the same time,
Enough of that.
find themselves increasingly devoid of actual working people and interested only in propping up the world's parasites. Some of our people might have turned and said, well, if it's not the Tories and it's not Labour, maybe it isn't the political parties, maybe it's the unions. But then you look at the unions, and in the unions you find people who talk about the need to get better wages for our people and the need to prevent our people from losing their jobs. But at the same time, when they think people aren't looking, will campaign for the borders to be opened to a colossal degree so that British workers can be rendered into poverty and unemployment, because they too, like the Labour Party, are con men. They create a problem to sell a solution. So what is the solution? The only politics that is going to offer any hope for our people is national politics. Nationalist parties. These are the only parties and the only groups whose interests are the people of this nation and not the money of this nation, whose only interests are to build the future rather than pillage the present. These are the people that need to be looked at. Whether it's the British Democrats, whether it's the National Front, whether it's the National Housing Party, these are the only people that are prepared to actually talk about the problems that this country faces. These are the only people that do not abuse and denigrate and spit on their own countrymen. This is the only way that our people will be saved. It's not a task which is easy. In many ways, it's the hardest task that our people could ever undertake. To turn a country around and deliver it from an enemy within is not an easy task. But at the same time, it is a task which is not impossible. The reason this enemy is invincible is because too many of our people believe that that is the case. The more our people believe that they have no power, the more powerless they become. But the truth is that our people were never powerless. They were merely led into believing that they were. We know that the support is there. We know that the desire for change is there. We know that the power for change does exist within our own people. It doesn't need the likes of communists or socialists or liberals or Marxists. It doesn't need the likes of society's garbage to tell us right from wrong. I do not need them to tell me what is right and wrong, because like all our people, we can decide that for ourselves. Our future is in our hands, not theirs. And that is the way it has always been. And that is the way it will always be. Soon to come will be a day when the spirit of this country will rise from the grave. A grave that has been dug by the left. And a grave which has been allowed our people to fall in by the right. The Tories who stand there and let it happen. Our people will rise from the grave. And when that happens, those who have spent 50, 60, 70, 100 years planning for our annihilation will themselves find that if anything is being annihilated, it will be them. They do not realise what they have done, because over the years that they have made it impossible for our people to be heard. Instead, they have only convinced us that coexistence with this enemy is as impossible as it is to coexist with a cancer of the brain. These people are a cancer. They are a disease that is destroying this country from the inside out. And it's a disease that takes the form of the hard left. It takes the form of their front. It's a disease that needs to be eradicated once and for all. And it needs to be made so that it can never ever return to this country. Do not believe that this is the end of our nation. On the contrary, this is only the beginning. So where do we go forward from here? If we think about what needs to happen over coming days, weeks and months, it's never going to be enough to just have a protest and event where we talk about the problem. That is never going to be enough. The council, the MP do not care. They have made it plain through their actions that they don't care. So what we need to do is to start organising ourselves politically. We need to start organising to run our own candidates at general elections, at local elections, and we need to do it for a nationalist agenda. It is the only way that will work. This doesn't mean that you can run people and be guaranteed to win. But what you don't realise, and what these people over there don't realise, we do not have to win, not to begin with. All we have to do is to prove that it is possible to resist. Because once our people start to realise that to resist the light of the left is possible, then they will turn out in their hundreds, then they will turn out in their thousands. Once they can see that it is possible to resist, that is when they have an objective to work towards. So what we must do now, going forward, is now we know that there are people here in Seacroft, in Leeds, being ignored, being abused. We have to do this on a regular basis. We have to meet here on a regular basis. We have to do it because the alternative is destruction. One of the most powerful things that you can realise in this struggle is that we have nothing to lose, because the objective of our enemy is our annihilation. And if we do nothing, it will be the end of our people. Once you realise that death is inevitable and that standing idly by means your destruction, you realise that by resisting this enemy, there is nothing to lose. It's a hard task, but it can be done. People have done harder things over the decades and the centuries, and they've done them with far less. And if our forefathers can do it, so can we. They're not better than us. Instead, we have just inherited their legacy. And it's a legacy that we cannot squander. So going forward from here, if we think about what's happened in the lead up to this event, we had previous events here in the year. Myself and a large number of our colleagues have been meeting here on Wednesdays to plan what's going on, to talk about what the problems in our area are. And we have to keep doing it. So if you live in Leeds, if you live here, if you are sick of being taken for a fool and robbed blind by the likes of that filth there, even if the council and the MP do not care and do not want to listen, we will. So join us when we have these meetings. Get in touch with us. There's people like David, who runs a group, Yorkshire Patriots. There's people here representing nationalist political parties. These are the people that we need to turn to going forward. Do not believe that you are just one person. Everything is designed to make you believe that you are isolated. The local councillor has his constituency surgery up by that centre on Saturday mornings. One by one he'll let people walk in and tell him what their problems are. But would he ever speak to people as a group of hundreds? No, because if he did, then the illusion of isolation that he propagates on his people would never be held. He would never stand here and talk to hundreds of his own constituents, because he could not isolate them, he could not lie to them, he could not convince them that they are the only person who cares and it's just them that has an issue. That's why they will never speak to you in meetings, in groups, and events like this and places like this. They will not do it, but we will. And this is the only way that our people will be saved. Now, soon, I know a lot of people came here expecting a march. So that is what we're going to do. Now, a march up to that roundabout by Tesco and back, that alone is not going to clear out that hotel. It's not. That will not do it. But what we have to do is the only thing that matters. We have to prove that it is possible to resist these people. It is possible to make ourselves heard. We don't have to do it by screaming and shouting.
Nope.
Because our enemies are watching and they know what we think. And the fact that what we think is how to get rid of them terrifies them. They know when they've seen this today that we are not isolated.